Welcome to the AI podcast at DigitVIEW.
We're continuing our exploration of AI pattern recognition.
Imagine a future where tiny, intelligent drones are everywhere. I mean, not just delivering packages, right? But helping us learn, making us safer, maybe even boosting our emotional well-being. It sounds like straight-up science fiction, doesn't it? But what if it's actually closer than you think? This idea of a comprehensive AI-powered ecosystem of specialized drones. Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that vision. We've got this fascinating report on our stack here that really deconstructs how a system like this could be, conceptualized, managed, deployed, going from the real techie nuts and bolts right through to the big societal questions. So our mission today is to unpack how this complex tech works, what it might mean for you in your actual life, the exciting opportunities, definitely, and also the crucial challenges we really have to navigate to get there safely, ethically, too. Okay, let's get into it. Right at the heart of this whole system, I mean, whether we're talking about some tiny spy drone or a helpful companion drone, there's this single fundamental thing, AI pattern recognition. But what does that really mean? Like, how does a machine actually see a pattern?
Yeah, it's maybe less about seeing like we do and more about a pretty sophisticated prep line for processing data. It's multi-stage.
Yeah.
You could think of it as the sort of intellectual precursor to basically every AI action. It all kicks off with data collection.
Okay.
So the drones, they're constantly gathering raw input. Maybe it's high-res video for a spy mission or subtle audio commands for a companion drone or maybe precise GPS and sensor data for a delivery drone. But here's the kicker, really. The quality of that data. It's absolutely everything. If you feed it flawed data or biased data, well, the AI's whole understanding is compromised right from the start.
So it's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out, even for super smart AI.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So, assuming we have good data, the next step is feature extraction. This is where the AI takes that huge amount of raw data, and instead of trying to process like every single bit, it boils it down. It finds the most relevant characteristics. For pictures, that might be identifying shapes or edges. For sound, maybe isolating specific frequencies, kind of like sifting through a massive pile of sand to find just the tiny gold nuggets, makes the next step much easier, computationally speaking. Then you get to pattern detection. This is where algorithms analyze those extracted features. They look for underlying structures, regularities, or even things that stick out, anomalies. For stuff like images or sounds, neural networks are often the star players here. They're sort of inspired by how our brains work, and they're incredibly good at finding complex connections, things that aren't obvious, especially in unstructured data. And the final stage is classification and decision-making. Based on the patterns it's found, the system assigns new data to groups. So it might tag an object in an image, classify a financial transaction, or for that delivery drone, decide a location is ready for drop-off. This whole pipeline running continuously, it's the backbone. It lets the AI go from just raw data to, a concrete understanding.
That's a great breakdown of how it sees the patterns, perceives them, maybe, but understanding is one thing. How does it go from just recognizing something to, predicting what might happen next and acting on it, and even, like you said, self-correcting, like a person might?
Right, that's the big leap, isn't it? From static recognition to dynamic real-time control. That's what makes these systems truly autonomous. AI doesn't just process the now. It shifts to predicting what reality might look like next. It uses advanced algorithms, things like recurrent neural networks, RNNs, and also LSTMs, long short-term memory networks. These are really good at analyzing sequences of data. You can almost think of them as having a kind of short-term memory.
Okay.
So they don't just see what's happening now, they remember the sequence leading up to it, like how we can sort of guess the end of a song we know after just a few notes. This lets the system forecast future states. A defense drone, for example, won't just spot a threat. It might anticipate where it's going.
Wow. So it's not just reacting, it's anticipating. That feels like a huge difference.
It absolutely is. And this is often done using a sense-reason-act approach. The AI is constantly sensing its environment, reasoning about the data, and then acting intelligently, all on the fly. And it's not just rigid programming. It involves real-time feedback loops. The system learns and adapts with every single cycle. The more it does something, the better it gets. A really powerful aspect here is allowing a user, maybe intuitively, to correct a robot's action.
Yeah.
Just guide it. You bypass those long, traditional retraining processes.
The human in the loop thing.
Exactly. That correction is vital. It ensures the AI's behavior stays aligned with what we actually intend, adapting even when things happen that weren't predicted without needing a whole new software update.
So we've got machines that can see patterns, learn, adapt, almost like they're alive in some way. But there's a huge missing piece for us to actually trust them, especially when things get serious. Understanding why they did what they did. It can't just be a black box, can it?
You've absolutely hit on a critical point there. For this whole human-AI ecosystem idea to work, to be trusted, to be effective, the AI's decision-making just cannot be opaque. This is exactly why explainable AI or XAI isn't just some fancy buzzword. It's fundamental. It's the bridge between those complex AI outputs we don't understand and our very human need to understand.
Okay, so what does XAI actually deliver? Is it more than just a generic here's why?
It operates on 4 key principles. First, explanation. The system has to give clear evidence, clear reasons for its outputs. So a Guardian drone, for example, should be able to log why it flagged a particular person or vehicle. Second, meaningful. The explanation has to make sense to you, the user, whether you're the developer building it or the person relying on it day to day. Third, explanation accuracy. This is crucial. The explanation it gives has to actually reflect the system's real process, the factors that really led to that decision. You can't just confabulate a plausible-sounding story.
Right, it has to be truthful.
Exactly. And finally, knowledge limits. The system needs to recognize its own boundaries. When does it lack enough confidence or expertise? It needs to be able to say, essentially, to stop it from making potentially dangerous calls outside its training.
That sounds like it really changes the relationship, from just a tool to something more like a partner.
That's a great way to put it. XAI isn't a nice to have, it's foundational. For safety, for ethics, for legal compliance, especially in high-stakes areas, think about a doctor. They need to understand why an AI suggests a diagnosis before they act on it. Or a bank, right? They need to explain why a loan was denied, both for the customer and for regulations. What's really fascinating here, I think, is XAI doesn't just make AI transparent, it turns it into a kind of collaborative intelligence. It's the step from AI tells me what to do to AI helps me understand, and then we decide together.
Okay, so the brain side is pattern recognition, XAI, making it understandable. Now let's talk about the bodies, the drones themselves. The report lays out 5 different types, archetypes. What are these specialized machines? How do they actually embody this intelligence?
Right. These 5 archetypes are basically different physical expressions of that core AI capability we've been discussing, recognizing patterns in real time and responding dynamically. Each one has a pretty specific mission, but they all share that same kind of intellectual foundation, that pattern recognition engine. So first up, you've got the Mosquito. This is your tiny spy drone.
Mosquito, okay.
Yeah, its whole deal is discretion, pervasive surveillance. Its AI is tuned to spot anomalous behavior, identify threats, mostly using computer vision, and obviously this demands extreme hardware miniaturization, plus really secure closed networks for the data. Then there's the Companion. This is a small drone, but it's designed for close user interaction. More personal.
Like a little buddy bot.
Sort of. Its AI is all about personalized connection, so it needs really precise voice recognition, often trained just for one person's voice. And it needs to interpret subtle human cues, vocal tone, body language to anticipate what you might need. Hardware here is all about low-power, lightweight design, so it could be around you constantly. Next, the Omni Carrier. That's the service drone. Think autonomous logistics.
Deliveries and stuff?
Exactly. Its AI is a master of efficiency, path planning, route optimization, dodging obstacles in real time. It recognizes patterns for the best routes based on changing things like weather, air traffic. It has to balance its processing power with how much it can carry, its payload capacity. Then we have the Guardian. This is the defense drone. Now we're in high-stakes territory. Its AI is built for spotting threats immediately, recognizing complex patterns that might be changing rapidly, often in really chaotic situations. And XAI, explainability, is absolutely non-negotiable here for accountability. These would operate on very secure closed networks. And finally, there's the Sentinel. This one's interesting, the Serenity drone. Its job is psychological and emotional support.
Wow, okay. How does that work?
Its AI is trained to recognize patterns of distress, either emotional or environmental. Think loud noises, aggressive voices, and then it executes pre-programmed calming actions, maybe playing specific music, emitting a gentle hum. The idea is it would work seamlessly with a companion drone for a really holistic kind of support.
It's amazing how that same core pattern recognition skill gets applied so differently. And you mentioned the dual use thing earlier. It really hits home how tracking a person could be for protection or, well, something much darker depending on who's using it and why.
Precisely. That potential for dual use really underscores why ethical design can't be bolted on later. It has to be right there from the very first concept discussion.
Which brings me to something specific you mentioned, A mosquito-sized drone. Seriously, that sounds like a massive engineering feat. How on earth do they pack all that intelligence, the processing, sensors, everything, into something so incredibly tiny, given how bulky electronics usually are?
You're absolutely right to flag that. It is a formidable hurdle. I mean, the biggest headaches for microdrones are tiny batteries, very little power, and the fact they just can't carry heavy sensors or powerful processors. It's this cascade, right? Small size means tiny battery, means limited payload, which severely restricts how long it can fly and what electronics it can carry. Without a real revolution in miniaturization, this whole ecosystem, frankly, just isn't feasible.
So what's the secret sauce then? How do they actually pull it off?
Well, it's not quite magic, but it is a multi-pronged, super precise engineering approach. We're talking about things like high-density interconnect PCBs, HDI boards. Think of a regular circuit board, like a tiny city with wide roads and tunnels. HDI boards. They're like building a super dense multi-story city where the roads are hair-thin and the tunnels, the vias connecting layers, are microscopic. This lets you cram incredibly complex systems into a space maybe the size of your thumbnail. We're talking increasing component density by maybe 30–40%. We also have to be ruthless about optimizing component selection. Using tiny surface mount devices like a resistor that's maybe 0.6 by 0.3 millimeters instead of the older, larger through-hole components. But maybe even more critical is system-on-chip technology, SoC. This is where you integrate multiple functions. The processor, memory, I/O, all onto one single chip. That can cut the board space needed by up to 25%. Huge saving. And then for fitting everything into weird, tight shapes, multi-layer and rigid flex PCBs are total game changers. Multi-layer boards stack things up, reducing surface area by maybe 50%. And rigid flex boards, they can literally bend and fold to fit into any little nook or cranny, getting rid of bulky connectors and cables, which saves even more weight and space.
That's incredible, basically making the electronics flow with the physical design.
Okay, but even if they're tiny, powerful, smart, how can these drones really operate autonomously, especially in an emergency? They can't always rely on Wi-Fi or a cell signal, right? They can't exactly carry a mini cloud data center. Exactly, you can't. And that's precisely why edge computing is the technological linchpin holding this all together. It's the ability to process data locally, right there on the drone's own hardware, instead of sending everything off to some remote cloud server. Like you said, a mosquito drone can't carry heavy, power-hungry cloud hardware. And critically, in emergencies, natural disasters, network outages connectivity is often the first thing to go. Edge computing solves that fundamental problem.
So it's about making them truly self-sufficient, like a little brain on board.
Precisely. And the benefits directly answer those concerns you raised. First, reduced latency. Processing right on the device cuts response time from seconds down to milliseconds. Absolutely critical for those split-second decisions, dodging an obstacle, spotting a threat. It enables that self-correcting behavior we talked about. Then, lower data transmission. Drones generate massive amounts of data. Edge AI processes most of it locally, only sending back key insights or summaries. Saves battery, saves bandwidth. Big wins. And very importantly, enhanced security and privacy. Processing sensitive data locally, like video from that spy drone or personal info from the companion drone, massively reduces the risk of it being intercepted when transmitted. Finally, and maybe most crucial for emergencies, reliable operation. Edge-enabled drones can keep functioning entirely on their own, even if the network is down or patchy. They stay useful exactly when you need them most.
You know, this isn't just about cool gadgets. It's really about how AI helps us understand our world, maybe even ourselves, in totally new ways. What really fascinates me is how AI interacts with human behavior. How does it actually recognize and interpret our patterns?
That's definitely one of the most complex, most nuanced areas. The system has to go beyond just simple classification, right? It needs a kind of contextual understanding of our intent, our emotions. It does this by analyzing visual data, sound, maybe even environmental cues. Take the Companion and Serenity drones again. They'd be trained to recognize your specific voice, maybe interpret subtle shifts in tone, or read body language. It's about learning the difference between, say, a loud laugh and a genuine scream of distress, or a playful shove versus an aggressive push. The AI has to learn what's normal and what's not for you specifically.
It's almost like having a personal assistant who knows you incredibly well, maybe even anticipates what you need before you say it.
That's the idea. And in a security context, the defense and spy drones apply a similar core principle, anomaly detection, but to public behavior, or maybe private behavior in a secure area. A sudden, coordinated movement in a crowd, someone sprinting when everyone else is walking, a car driving erratically. These could all be flagged as significant anomalies that need a closer look.
Okay, beyond just immediate behavior, what about deeper human patterns, like how we learn? Could this tech actually help, say, revolutionize education?
Oh, absolutely. I think AI pattern recognition is a uniquely powerful tool for helping us understand our own learning patterns, our cognitive styles. Think about it. Traditional education, often one size fits all, right? It struggles to meet individual needs. AI offers a way to scale personalized learning. It can track real-time data, how a student answers questions, the specific mistakes they make, how long they spend on a concept. That stream of data is the pattern the AI learns about your specific learning style.
So it's like having a dynamic tutor who's constantly adjusting just for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Based on that pattern, the system can adjust the curriculum on the fly. Give easier questions if you're struggling, ramp up the difficulty if you're excelling. It can build these knowledge graphs to pinpoint exactly where the gaps are in your understanding, then offer targeted feedback or resources. It's a huge shift from just grading a test weeks later, right? The AI system can potentially predict where a student might struggle before they fail and offer instant feedback. Helps the educator intervene proactively. If you connect this to the bigger picture, AI in education is a really concrete example of how pattern recognition can help us understand our own realities, maybe unlock potential we didn't even know was there.
And what about the really big patterns, the rhythms of our economy or politics? Can AI actually make sense of systems that complex that seem so, well, unpredictable sometimes?
It's definitely pushing the boundaries there. In terms of foresight, traditional economic forecasting models, time series econometric models, they're inherently limited. They rely heavily on past data. They often assume things move in straight lines, linearly. And that's exactly why they've struggled to predict sudden shocks like the 2008 financial crisis or the COVID-19 pandemic. They just weren't built for those kind of rapid shifts or totally new factors.
So they're always kind of looking in the rearview mirror, but AI might be able to see around the next corner.
In a sense, yeah. AI offers a potentially much more robust way forward. AI models can analyze these vast, incredibly diverse data sets, pulling from structured data, unstructured data, all in real time. We're not just talking financial transactions here. It's news reports, social media sentiment, even like weather patterns that might affect supply chains. This incredibly broad view lets AI spot complex connections, nonlinear relationships that human analysts or older models would just completely miss. It might detect subtle shifts in consumer spending or the financial health of companies that act as early warning signs for an economic downturn. By constantly crunching this colossal amount of data, AI could provide much more timely, more accurate forecasts. That gives governments, businesses, a real strategic edge for making agile moves, proactive policy.
This vision, it sounds amazing in many ways, a truly augmented future. But okay, with all this pervasive autonomy comes huge responsibility and, frankly, significant risk. What are the big ethical dilemmas, the security challenges we absolutely have to face if this grown ecosystem becomes real?
You've really put your finger on the core tension of the whole thing. The ethical landscape is incredibly tricky, starting with privacy and just the sheer potential for constant surveillance. Imagine that mosquito drone with advanced sensors, able to capture identifiable info in places where you absolutely expect privacy. The report raises real concerns about drone anxiety, a potential chilling effect on free speech, on public gatherings if people feel they're always being watched. It sets up this fundamental clash between perceived public good, like security, and basic individual privacy rights. Then there's the huge issue of algorithmic bias and potential misuse. The data we use to train these AI pattern recognition systems, unfortunately, it can reflect, even amplify, the biases already present in society. So that defense drone we talked about, it might end up disproportionately flagging people from certain communities as anomalous or suspicious purely because its training data was biased. And we absolutely cannot ignore the dual-use nature we mentioned. A tool designed for helping someone feel calm or assisting them in the wrong hands, it could easily be weaponized or used for malicious surveillance.
That is a really sobering thought. Okay, beyond the ethics, what about the straight-up security vulnerabilities? How could these systems actually be attacked or compromised?
Well, the interconnectedness of an ecosystem like this creates a really wide attack surface. The report breaks down the risks into a few key areas. First, obvious physical attacks. Drones, even small ones, could be modified to carry explosives, dangerous chemicals, or used to physically attack critical infrastructure. Second, surveillance and espionage. Those advanced sensors make them ideal tools for covertly gathering sensitive intelligence, corporate secrets, national security information. Huge risk there. Third, cyber attacks. The drones themselves could be the weak link. Hackers could exploit vulnerabilities in their control systems to inject malware into secure networks, basically flying the threat right past the digital gates. A compromised drone isn't just lost equipment, it's a potential entry point for a much bigger attack. Fourth, disruption of operations. Drones could be used simply to interfere with critical infrastructure, think airports, power plants, causing widespread chaos, massive economic losses. And a key vulnerability the report highlights is how susceptible they are to hijacking, jamming, and spoofing. Jamming is basically blasting noise to disrupt the communication link, forcing the drone down or making it crash. Spoofing is clever, sending fake GPS signals to trick the drone's navigation, potentially letting an attacker take control remotely. Now, defenses are always evolving, of course, but it shows this constant technological arms race, and it points to really big unresolved questions about liability in our current legal frameworks. Who's responsible when something goes wrong?
So with all these incredibly complex ethical security challenges, who's actually making the rules here? Is regulation managing to keep up with this breakneck pace of innovation?
Unfortunately, the report is pretty clear on this. The speed of AI and drone tech development has just far outstripped how quickly we can create comprehensive rules. We're left with a really fragmented, uncertain legal landscape. You've got federal bodies like the FAA handling airspace, sure, but issues like privacy, surveillance, those are often left to this patchwork of state and local laws that are all over the place. It creates massive confusion for everyone involved, developers, users, even law enforcement.
So that lack of clarity isn't just annoying, it's actually holding things back.
Oh, absolutely. This fragmentation isn't just an inconvenience. It's a direct barrier. It stops widespread, safe, ethical adoption. Companies, governments looking into this tech, face a legal minefield. It makes deploying it almost prohibitive because there aren't clear rules on data privacy, or who's liable if there's a crash or a cyber attack, or even just basic rules for operation. The report mentions prominent calls for immediate proactive regulation, things like moratoria on really powerful AI systems to give us time to figure out governance, proposals for new kinds of regulatory bodies. The consensus seems to be we urgently need a comprehensive framework, one that's human-centered. It has to carefully balance encouraging innovation with a non-negotiable commitment to safety, transparency, and accountability. Proactive regulation from this perspective isn't actually a barrier to progress. It's the necessary foundation to build public trust and to make sure this potentially transformative technology has a viable long-term future.
Okay, so wrapping this up. We've explored this potential future where AI-powered drones could fundamentally change how we interact with technology with our environment. Everything from personalized help and learning right up to getting these unprecedented insights into the global economy. We've seen the incredible engineering needed, miniaturization, edge computing, and the really transformative potential for understanding patterns, from subtle human behavior right up to the grand rhythms of society. But, and it's a big but, we've also laid bare these profound ethical challenges, the security risks, the regulatory hurdles that really demand our attention, our foresight, our commitment. The report's conclusion, ultimately, is that the most crucial pattern for us, for humans to understand, is that AI's role in this vision is meant to augment us, not replace us. This future seems technically plausible, yeah, but its success. That hinges entirely on building trust, ensuring accountability, and making sure we're always enhancing human agency, not diminishing it. So, here's a final thought for you, the listener. As AI gets better and better at seeing these hidden patterns in absolutely everything, from your own behavior to global markets, what new patterns will you seek to understand, now that you know such deep insights might actually be possible?
Thank you for joining us for this broadcast.
Searching for answers to unanswered questions.
This is DigitView.